Hello everyone. I've counted the votes, and the card you wanted me to talk about most is Atiesh, Great Staff of the Guardian.
Here, borrow my staff. It controls the portals. Just don't scratch it.
Let's begin, shall we? As the name implies, Atiesh, the Great Staff of the Guardian, is the weapon used by the Guardian. The Guardian is charged with keeping Azeroth safe, and its origin goes way back to the times where the mages of Dalaran, they were recklessly using their magic. Their abuse inadvertently tore open rifts in reality, and through one such rift, the Nafrazim Kafrnatir, he clawed his way into Azeroth and he found Dalaran ripe for upheaval. They tried to fight back, but found the Dreadlord to be quite powerful, so they came up with the plan of pouring their power into one single being and have that person be their champion, their guardian. The first one to claim the title was Elodai, empowered by the Council of Tirisfal. He was able to overcome Kafrnatir, he did save the day, and he kept the world safe. Over time, the mantle of Guardian, including its powers, was passed on, and although it's unknown when they created Atiesh, we do know that it too passed on from Guardian to Guardian. That doesn't mean that the Guardians only used Atiesh. For example, the Guardian Egwin, she worked very hard on creating Aluneth, another powerful weapon, but usually Atiesh, it was more reliable and allowed them to overcome great challenges. Challenges like the Avatar Sargeras, which Egwin, together with Atiesh, she was able to defeat, but there were plans and schemes in motion which nobody knew about. The spirit of Sargeras nestled itself inside the Guardian Egwin, twisting her mind and turning her against the Council. She became so against them that she refused to hand over the powers of the Guardian to a successor appointed by the Council, and instead decided to have a child of her own and have that child inherit her powers, her duty, and of course her weapon. What she didn't plan on passing on was the spirit of Sargeras, who had infiltrated the child but was still forming in her womb. Now, the Dark Leader of the Burning Legion, he had found the perfect instrument with which to weaken the world of Azeroth. The Guardian, the main protection against threats like the Legion, it was now in his hands, and he twisted Medivh's mind like he had done with his mother. They made contact with the Orcish warlock Gul'dan, they created the Dark Portal, and they set about the first Horde invasion of Azeroth. Medivh's corruption would eventually be found out by people like his apprentice Khadgar, his longtime friend Enduin Lothar, and his lover Garona Half-Orcan. They confronted the corrupted Guardian and killed him, but the invasion was already underway, so after burying his body next to Karazhan, they focused on defending the world against the threat of the Horde. Now this is where the fate of Atiesh becomes a little bit unclear, since we have some conflicting storylines and some retcons to deal with. Following Medivh's death, his mother spent her time collecting her power, and she used them to resurrect her son. Only the good side of him, of course, an uncorrupted guardian. We saw this Medivh during Warcraft 3 as the prophet, warning the world of the threat of the Legion, getting the right people together and teach them that the world no longer needed a guardian. In his hands, we can clearly see Atiesh, and after completing his task, after the defeat of Archimonde, he states that it'll take his place amongst the legends of the past. It's entirely up for interpretation what that means, of course, but it does look like he takes Atiesh with him. Now that's one version of the story, right? But then we also have the version in which players themselves, they were able to obtain Atiesh and actually wield it. After the fall of Karazhan, after the corrupted Medivh was confronted, the Kirin Tor dispatched an assembly of mages to search the tower and seize all items of importance for the purpose of research. It was then that the fabled staff was discovered and they brought it back to Dalaran. What followed were a series of tragic events leading to the death of every Kirin Tor mage that came into contact with Atiesh. You see, it was actually an artifact with sentience, a sentience granted to it by Sargeras. After the deaths, the Council of Six decided that the best course of action was to seal the staff behind impenetrable barriers of magic and appoint a watcher, a guardian of the staff. That guardian would be Archmage Angela dos Santos, who tells us this tale and also explains that Atiesh, that it was shattered when Archimonde destroyed Dalaran during Warcraft 3. So this conflicts with what we see in Warcraft 3. That's definitely Atiesh in Medivh's hands, but at the same time, the shattering does seem to happen, since the image of Medivh in the latest Karazhan dungeon, it says,
Atiesh will be splintered.
The splintered pieces were collected by adventurers. The base of Atiesh was reclaimed from the old god Kafun, since it was left there by Bran Bronzebeard, and the head of the staff was found in Kel'Thuzad's possession. With all of the pieces reclaimed, the adventurers then went into Stravholm to cleanse the staff and slay the demon Atiesh, slay the corruption that Sargeras had imbued into the weapon. Not even that is the final version of the story though, because we also have Medan in the comics. Medan is the son of Garona and Medivh, and in the comics it was he who became the next guardian. He obtained Atiesh, and he used it to defeat Cho'Gall and put a stop to their plans. Last BlizzCon, they did decide to retcon the events with Medan in the comics, so it's up for speculation how Atiesh was reformed and how it was cleansed, and how the hell it ended up in the hands of Khadgar. With Warlords of Draenor, Archmage Khadgar showed up to join the fight, and all of a sudden, he is the one with Atiesh in his hands. No reason or explanation was given, and a lot of people speculated on Khadgar being the new Guardian. That's now been debunked. Khadgar has said multiple times that he doesn't want to be the Guardian, but he does fulfill a very similar role. Like Medivh in Warcraft 3, he went around to warn the world of the coming Legion invasion, and he's currently doing his very best to save the world from the threat of the Legion, wielding Atiesh as he goes.
I prefer using the great staff Atiesh's raven form. Nothing's worse than saddle sores.
Hopefully, they'll decide to clear up the story behind this weapon, since with time, it's become quite a mess. In Hearthstone, it's the Guardian Medivh who lends you the staff, either during the match with Malchezaar, or later on if you play Medivh.
A game? So kind of you to join me.
With the weapon in hand, after you cast a spell, you'll summon a random minion of the same cost. And that's where we'll end the story of Atiesh for today. Hopefully in the future they'll explain more about the history of this weapon. As always, I'll leave it up to you guys girls to decide what card we're going to talk about next. So leave your suggestions in the comments down below, and who knows, your card might be used in the next video. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, see ya!